All right, welcome everyone. We are live on Rumble, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and Telegram. Today we're going to be doing our Friday episode with Luanne Fleming and Robin Austin, and we're going to be talking about possibility of continuity of government and more. And we also have a call-in line for our viewers to call in and ask questions and comment on their thoughts on certain subjects. That call-in line is 702-482-8620. Let's read our disclaimer and then we'll begin. The views expressed on this show are expressly the views of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views, beliefs, or opinions of News4US.WORLD, its hosts, broadcasters, or affiliates. Remember, folks, always use your own discernment when viewing. We encourage our viewers to think for themselves. All right, welcome everybody to this special Friday episode. I'm going to let you guys want to kick off the episode and to kind of do your little intro and do a little background on you guys and what we want to talk about today, so I can share out this live and then we'll segue from there. You guys, unmute yourself, you guys.
Sounds good. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm Robin Austin. This is Luanne Fleming. We are blog talk radio talk show hosts on the Hidden Truth Revealed channel and have shows every Wednesday night, almost every Wednesday night, and have for about the last 6 years. 7 years. I said about. 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there. And what we talk about on that show is corruption in the court system and what we can do about it, and the effects on people. And we've shared a lot of personal stories about people who have been affected by the terrible corruption that's happening in our court system today. Today, our subject is continuity of government, and that's a very deep subject that goes, because what we have today is a government that has been designed in two ways. One is by the founding fathers that designed a government that would be a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And the other is the shadow government that has really taken over all of the various houses of government, all of the arms of a government, and now manipulate government for their own ends, according to the agenda of the international capitalist communist conspiracy, a cabal of very powerful individuals who control the world governments through economics and through regulatory capture. That is, they capture the regulatory system in any government. If you have a FDA, for instance, Food and Drug Administration, one would think that the purpose of the FDA would be to make sure that the American people get decent, good, healthy food and drugs. In fact, that agency is pretty much entirely controlled by food companies and drug companies. And so it lives in service to them. And that means anything that's FDA approved has been approved to make money for the right people. And so anyway, I think, from where I'm at, that's kind of one of the directions we want to go today in our discussion.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, Robin. There's been a lot of regulatory capture, and we've definitely seen the evidence of that in the last several years. I mean, just look at how they changed the definition of what a vaccine is to fit these current mRNA shots. I mean, that's unheard of. Traditionally you're supposed to go by these standards, but when you have a system that doesn't even follow their own regulations, I'm sorry, but that's a corrupt system, and that's a good indicator that they've gone rogue.
Right. It appears that the entire medical system has become corrupted. Mm-hmm. And really, that's by design. I think that goes back to John D. Rockefeller, who looked around and he thought, "Wow, look at all the natural healing that's
AMA.
Going on. This is going to be dangerous." Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he founded the AMA, and he gave a lot of monies to medical universities, medical colleges and universities, medical schools, and said, all that I'm asking, I'm going to give you plenty of money to operate, but all that I'm asking is that one of my people sit on your board of directors, and you're going to have to listen to them, because I just gave you, $500 million or $100 million or however much that he did give them, and continues to give them on an ongoing basis. And of course, that person sitting on that board then begins to say, hey, look, we're not going to, you know what, we'll teach nutrition, make sure every single doctor in America gets at least 1 hour of nutrition education, because that's important. And so,
Right.
so we have doctors coming out of medical school with an hour or 2 or 3 of total education in nutrition. And of course, nutrition is fundamental. It's, you know, if you want health, then you have to start. I mean, Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said, let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. And we've gone so far from that now we're believing this pharmaceutical propaganda that's being pushed on us, not only by pharmaceutical companies, but by all of the media that are controlled through the same cabal of individuals that control the pharmaceutical companies. And they all spout the party line. There's no cure for this horrible disease that we cooked up in a laboratory and hold the patents to. There's no cure for it except for this thing that which we developed, which we're going to sell to all the governments. Then they'll give it to you free. And that's the only thing you can do. Otherwise, sit home and get sicker until you go to the hospital. Then we'll put you on a regimen that's designed to kill you so that it looks like it's worse than it really is. And so that everyone is fearful, because fear causes the brain to shut off and you won't be able to think it through for yourself and see with clear eyes that show you the truth of what's going on. And so, you know, that's
exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened. Go ahead.
It's the whole food industry, though. You know, I ask everybody that's listening to go to Netflix and watch The Blue Zone. And it's really opened my eyes to a lot of issues, because these people are living way into their hundreds years old, you know, 102, 97, all the way up. And they've got really great nutrition, and they don't ask for all the chemicals in their food. They don't have any of that. And they're all watching out for their citizens. They're watching out for the elderly people. They're watching out for everybody on there. So when you look at America, I mean, you look at the United States, well, we've got polyglycol and everything. We've got, you know, jet fuel in all of our food. And it's just so corrupt what the corporations are doing. You know, the FDA is supposed to be, you know, putting in all this guidelines, and they're not doing their job, really. So go to that.
I'd like to add that most of America's food is like not allowed in a lot of other countries. Like they won't, you know, they ban most of our food. You know, things that we feed our kids every day in packed lunches are banned, like Ritz crackers, you know, just things like that we just tend to feed on a daily basis to our kids are not even allowed on their shelves in their countries. They can't even buy them.
Absolutely right. Because why? Well, because people in other countries are using the brains that they have and examining what the food is and what the consequences of eating certain foods and having certain chemicals in your food, and looking at the statistics that show that genetically modified food is not as healthy as organic, farm grown, well mineralized foods from well mineralized soil. You know, it's just that what it produces in your body is disease problems, because genetically modified foods are all sprayed with glyphosate. Glyphosate kills the bioflora in the body, just like it kills all the weeds in the field. And that's why they spray it on the crops, because they can have a monocrop of one thing that's genetically modified to resist glyphosate, and then that gets fed to the animals, and that those animals go to market, and they've got glyphosate in the tissues that gets fed to people. And you know, people who buy those foods, they don't know for the most part. And the reason that they don't know, well, all the media is controlled. Even Google is now curating everyone's information, and they've got new algorithms in place to strip out all of the everything that doesn't go along with the authorized propaganda that Google is pushing forward.
You're right. And you know, there's actually a term they have for that. It's called machine learning fairness. I actually covered it in episode 2 of Tips, Techniques, and Survival Traits, Online and Censorship. And we did a little presentation on that, using it with the evidence that Zach Voorhees released via Project Veritas. And we did pretty good thing on that one. That was intense. We also showed, I think it was in that episode, I think it might have been that episode where Facebook fact checkers are opinion checkers. We broke that story too, when they got found out as being op-eds and not really fact checkers.
Right. And today also, you've got the rise of AI, and what's happening with AI. They're discovering that AI more and more, as more and more people are discovering AI and using AI.
What's
one of the
AI?
things,
Tell everybody what
artificial intelligence.
There you go.
There's something called ChatGPT, which will do your homework for you. And
But you got to be careful of that.
of course, you got to be careful, because what you're going to get is going to be a generic mix of whatever's been written on that topic on the internet. And ChatGPT, the AI engine that runs pretty much all of those others, that you can get an AI that's designed for marketing, or an AI that's designed for lawyers, and they're all built on the back of the original, which is the ChatGPT.
Dottie, I know you can speak on that from your own personal experience, just trying to put your legal paperwork together. Why don't you chime in on that?
Oh yeah, well, you just got to tell them that they don't have opinion to do what you want them to do. You break them that way.
I'll just try.
Like they just were like, they were trying to say, they were trying to get it was trying to give me its opinion, like thought, like it was trying to have thought, when I was just like, rewrite this and put this into this. And they're like, that is an accusation, da da da. And and I'm like, no, wait a minute. You're having thought. You don't have thought, I'm like, I've asked you to do this, and then, I get it, then it would do it. But it was like, I had to have an argument with it first, basically, to tell it to stop having thought, that you're thinking, stop thinking, and just do as I'm telling you to do, because I've only asked you to rewrite something and incorporate this into it, just so, just to rewrite it. There's no thought in that. It should have no thought.
Right. But it was giving her a response like it had thought, which made it was like, whoa.
Right. Well, but it did it once I told it to stop thinking and do what I asked it to do. It rewrote it.
Didn't you have to remind it that it's just a computer program?
I've done that too. I've done that too. But I like the ChatGPT. Like for certain things, I like with writing shit. It helps rewrite something real quick, or put something together really quick because you have to tell it what you want. So you put what you want in, and I like it. It helps write things faster.
It definitely does do that. It can be a useful tool for sure.
For that, it's a useful tool. I mean, I'm not trying to get information from it, because I know it's all going to be tainted information. It's going to be whatever it's programmed with, and it'll tell you that it's only got information up till the year 2021, I think, is the last time that it's been updated, it said.
Yeah.
That's funny. That you would tell you that when it didn't know something. They would try to give you that.
The other thing, of course, is that anything that it wasn't programmed with, it's not going to have information on. So you ask it about, I don't know, ask it about who the Nephilim were, or who the Anunnaki are, or do they still have influence in the governments of the nations? And it's not going to go. It's going to have no idea what you're talking about, or it's going to say, yes, that is conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory has all been debunked. Don't listen to anything that mentions those words. And
I don't know. I've gotten some interesting stuff out of the ChatGPT. I like to put in, I put in the Zoom conversation of the 39 GALs that were colluding in St. Louis. I put that conversation into the ChatGPT. It was pretty interesting what it come back with.
That's cool.
After because I had the transcripts, so I put the transcripts into it and to see what it came back with. It was interesting. They definitely were keeping something secret.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What did it come back? What did it come back with, Dottie, for viewers? I'm sure they.
Let me go find it. I can go find it in the history. Give me 1 second.
All right. Yeah, that'd be I'm curious.
And the other thing is we were watching the Blue Zones the other day up on Netflix, and these places that have the best culture in the world, they were talking about how they take care of their elders, which I thought was fascinating, because around these countries, they take care of their own. They take care of their own people. People all pitch in around the community. They take care of the elders. But out here in the United States, they warehouse our elders. So I was thinking, that's because they just want to make a profit from them. out in the blue zones.
That's
and
exactly what it is.
it's exactly what's going on. So the United States, it also cuts off people's years by 6 to 10 years of their their age. A lot of these people are dying there at a warehouse. They're like within a few years after they've been in a nursing home at the most. But these blue zones, these people are living up to 105 years old, and they're happy, they sing, they're with people, they're with family, but these other people, United States, what do they do to the elders? They put them in nursing homes and forget about them and drug them and do whatever they got to do.
I mean, I saw,
and a lot of the time they got one person for like maybe 20 people too.
Yeah.
One person take care of 20 different patients. So like, that's not care.
No,
it's not. And it's like you see advertisements on the boob tube for a place for mom. You need a place for, what are we going to do about mom? She's not as perfect as she used to be. She messed up breakfast the other day. And what are we going to do now that we don't want to have her around? You need a place for mom. Compassionate, caring people. Yeah. Compassionate, caring people will take care of your mother. Oh, and by the way, that we're going to rob her to the tune of $4,000 a month. Plus, we're going to put her on all kinds of drugs because that'll give us an additional $6,000 a month from the pharmaceutical companies that kick back money to the nursing homes that feed drugs to people.
And don't go try to get them because then you're going to jail.
Right.
That's
once a place for mom has mom, that's her place, and don't even try to visit her. If you're lucky, we'll let you call for the first couple of weeks, and then we're going to cut off calling, visiting, everything, because we own mom now, and she's a profit center, and we don't want you messing that up by saying, hey, doesn't seem like you're treating mom the way I would. I kind of want to get her out of there. We don't want any of that. So
it's so sad, though.
And yes, Stone Valley, that is a jab at you. Deal with
it. Yeah. Stone Valley, well, one of many, many, many.
Yeah. And it's sad.
That along with Sage Creek, which is the one that my mom got her bed sores from because of their negligence. So, I had that one to the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really sad what's going on, especially in America. Everyone thinks it's the land of the free man. It's the opposite. It's terrifying what's going on with our adults and our children, because the same thing is going on with our children. They're taking our children, they're taking our parents, they're taking their homes, their houses, taking away their dad, their moms. It's horrible. It just we keep getting the stories over and over again. They got mom, they got dad, they got our trust. I had power of attorney. We were kicked off like the Hillegas case. The same thing that happened to him is happening to everybody.
It is. So many different cases. I mean, it's like they're just being really brazen about it. Just look how obvious they were about it, freaking, and just the Hillegas case alone.
Right. Just he's got all of the paperwork that shows that he is in charge of the trust. No, you're not. We're going to overrule that. We just, we feel like, no, is there really any basis for that? No, we don't need basis.
And the court
we have power. We have power to do it. We don't need a basis. We just use our power.
And he says, the court owns the Hillegas Trust now. That's who owns it now. I mean, that's where it always goes to, is the court. The court and it's like the people.
They're doing whatever the heck they want, regardless. They're breaking the law themselves, and then they're turning around when they get called out on it and trying to persecute those who are calling them out on their bullshit. Which in a lot of cases, it's the ones who are being unjustly freaking victimized in these cases.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And
a lot of the times it's family member that's involved too.
Oh yeah, because you see a loved one that is in trouble. You see that they're in a place where they're being abused, that you see bruises that shouldn't be there. You see them drugged up when they shouldn't be and barely able to function. And you realize, hey, mom's in trouble. I got to try to get her out of there. Well, buddy, you try to get her out of there. And if you're successful, they'll try to put you in prison for the rest of your life. If you manage to, even if you walk up and say, hey, I'm taking my mom, and they say, okay, and you walk out the door with her, which is exactly what happened with Roger Hillegas. He brought paperwork, showed his paperwork, said, I'm taking my mom. They said, okay. He went, got her, walked her out, and put her in the car and drove off. And then there was a huge manhunt. We've got to get this man for kidnapping. He stole this woman.
He stole his
mother.
mom. He stole his
Don't you
mom.
find it interesting that their claim that their claim is, oh, he's he's got a TPO out against him, but there was no TPO at the time that he took his mother. In fact, they colluded in the court hearing on the very next day to make sure they could sell the house, one, and then in order to do that, they had to do a sua sponte to do that protection order, which is all bullshit. It's based on lies anyways. In Robin's testimony, we've obviously shown her that she was lying under oath, clearly, with the saying that he didn't look like him. Clearly it looked exactly like him.
Yeah.
So it's like, so what does that do? That makes the whole court culpable for what they've done, because they base it all on lies.
Right.
Oh God,
But they did it anyway.
Right.
Yeah, it's the whole thing is just so corrupt in every direction. I mean, it doesn't matter which topic we're going to touch on, it's corrupt, and it doesn't matter. I hear one day that, oh, you could eat grapes, and the next day, oh, you can't eat grapes, or next day you can, all day long. It doesn't matter what it is. And you really have to be your own educator. You really have to teach yourself. Listen to the functional doctors. A lot of them are telling the truth, what's going on, but you really can't, we're trying to pick out a doctor right now. We're trying to figure out, well, which one do we really want to go to? The one that's going to give the pill for the ill. And how can we find one that's not going to try to kill us in the process? You know what I mean?
Or
guardianize us.
Really, it's a horrible thing to think, okay, if I go to the doctor, they're going to pressure me to be injected with an experimental potion of some kind that may or may not do me good and might do me a lot of harm. Matter of fact, the most common cause of illness in the world is doctor-caused illness, caused by the medicines that they give in the amounts that they're normally prescribed. These drugs are so poisonous and toxic that you take the regular amount, and the vast majority of people who are trying to get healed get sick from the drugs and get sick from the doctor. There's a term for doctor-caused illness. I've been trying to think of it.
Which is it? I know what you're talking about. Yeah, we'll think about it. I know what it's called.
I think I may have your answer for that, because we actually covered, this is one of the sources in part 4, I believe it was, maybe part 3. Hold on, I'm trying to find it, of our long-term article, where it talks about doctors are the number
iatrogenic.
The number 2 or
iatrogenic.
Okay, there we go.
Is a doctor-caused illness.
Which I've had plenty of those.
And if you're feeling not very well and you are considering going to a doctor, it's a terrible thing that you have to consider. Well, I have to weigh this, because what if the doctor makes things worse, or gives me drugs that make me sicker, or gives me drugs with side effects that make things worse? Or what if the doctor is working with a court where he tries to guardianize me because I can be profitable that way? There's so many.
Oh, yeah, and the thing you have to really be careful of is if you go into a hospital or rehabilitation, especially the elderly, tell them.
Oh, they have a hospitalist whose office is there to make sure you never get away. But a hospitalist, this is an agent who will come in and let's say that you've got now that you've been into you've got some medical bills that are starting to accrue, and they think, well, I'm not so certain that you're going to either be able to or want to pay all of the bills that we plan to give you for this. So what we're going to do then is we'll put an emergency temporary guardian on you. And then, of course, that will become permanent. But right now, it's an emergency temporary guardian on you. And what that means is that now we control all of your finances. You've been guardianized. So you no longer have the right to control your finances because you're not competent to do that. We've found a court to rule that you're not competent to do that. And so because you're not competent, we're taking over. And because medical errors are number 3 causes of US death. And,
Yes,
and you're in a hospital and they're like, we're not letting you go. What we're doing, and Florida actually passed a law recently that they can take you in the hospital, and if they decide that they need to get paid, they can guardianize you, and they can then access your property in states and sell that property to pay your medical bills and to pay for your care. And of course, once they've got you, they just hold on to you and care for you for the rest of your life until they're finished till they need the bed for somebody else. Then they just give you the kill shot and make the bed available for the next one to come along. And that's the way the system is working right now. Yeah. You're nothing but profit for that.
It's horrible how our system's gone. So we got a little article here. It's a 3-minute listen. I'm going to go ahead and play it for our viewers. Just touches on what you're talking about the doctors.
Right, exactly.
And so I think it's important people hear this.
Many of us probably know that the #1 killer in the U.S. is heart disease. Number 2 is cancer. But a new study from Johns Hopkins University says the 3rd leading cause of death in this country is mistakes, errors made in hospitals or in the larger healthcare system. These numbers are actually well known to researchers. Marty McCary is a cancer surgeon at Johns Hopkins. And what astonishes him is that these numbers are excluded from official health statistics. Because the CDC fails to keep track of these errors, he says it makes the root causes harder to tackle. I asked Dr. McCary to first explain why there are so many mistakes.
One of the most dangerous things that can happen to you in the emergency room is a patient handoff. That is, one nurse or doctor passing on your information to somebody else and missing a critical part of your care or concern that they have. And every doctor and nurse in America has seen it. And it's almost as if there is this silent endemic, but it's not disseminated or measured broadly. It turns out that people die from the care that they receive, not just from the disease or illness for which they present for care. And if you look in totality, it ranks as the 3rd leading cause of death in the United States.
So you're saying the number 3 cause of death in America is mistakes.
It is people dying from the care that they receive, under treatment, over treatment, diagnostic errors, medication, overdosing, falling through the cracks.
But are these always preventable mistakes?
So we're referring to these as preventable. We're never going to eliminate human errors from the practice of medicine. We're human beings as doctors, but we can engineer the hospital delivery so that the impact of our errors are minimized or caught with safety nets.
So why is this happening? I mean, as a patient, as someone hearing this, you think to yourself, this is horrible. This doesn't exactly instill a lot of faith in our country's healthcare system.
Well, we have a lot of stakeholders in medicine, but unfortunately, the patient is not one of the most vocal stakeholders in the United States. When an egregious event happens to a patient, oftentimes there's a settlement, and every time as a part of that settlement is a gag rule that no patient or doctor can talk about anything related to that event for the rest of their life. We need to create an open and honest culture about things that go wrong in medicine, just like aviation has created a culture where every pilot in the world will learn the lessons from a single crash with those results disseminated. We consider that to be part of public safety, and we can do the same in healthcare. We can learn the lessons and share them broadly with medical legal protections and track medical mistakes in the same way we track cancer statistics in my own field of cancer surgery.
So that's what you want to change. You need it to be listed as a cause of death before you can get the attention on fixing these kinds of errors?
Absolutely. The most common causes of death list generated in our country's national health statistics, that list is a big deal. It informs all of our research funding, all of our public health campaigns. And to have a methodological flaw where the 3rd leading cause of death, that is medical care gone wrong, is not even listed, it results in a tremendous under-recognition, underfunding, and underappreciation of the magnitude of the problem from every level, from research priorities to public awareness among patients.
What can patients do to mitigate these risks?
Patients that do well are often empowered. They know the treatment options, they're asking every question, they know which pill they're taking, and they're right there with their loved one at the bedside, because it turns out 1 in 4 patients will have some form of medical error during the time of their hospitalization. It may not be consequential, but they are ubiquitous. And that's because we're human beings working in a messy system.
Marty McCary of Johns Hopkins Medical School, thank you so much for talking with us.
Great to be with you, Rachel.
Wow.
There you have it, folks. And it's I imagine it's even worse.
And now more from NPR.
Hold on, let me pause this shit. It's trying to autoplay on me. My bad. Anyways, but yeah, no, even more so. I mean, it just got worse. And that article was dated 2016. Look at what happened in the last 3 years. I mean, it's got like,
you factor in COVID and the way that they isolated patients and the COVID protocols that they followed at hospitals with remdesivir, which was known to cause kidney damage by Fauci, who widely recommended it to everybody. So this is their recommended treatment. And it's known to cause liver damage. It's known to cause disruption of the functions in the body. It's known to result in death in a high percentage of people, and putting them all on ventilators obviously also was responsible for killing a lot of people.
Well, they did that with the kid, a high school student, just not too long ago, at the beginning of this year, who was having she was the athlete and she was doing a practice game, and then they were trying to resuscitate her and she couldn't breathe, and then next thing you know, they're rushing her off the hospital, and next thing everybody knows, she's dead. And they said, and the article said they intubated her. Well, what intubation means is a tube down your throat, folks.
Right. And that means that now you're not able to feed yourself or breathe on your own because they've just blocked your airways unless they've, arranged for oxygen to be going in. There's so much that can go wrong, and often does.
I'm going to read a comment by one of our viewers. Marlena Fearing said, I was poisoned deliberately at the University of Minnesota with toxic chemicals, and doctor did not record. And I can speak to that as far as them not recording stuff on record. Like, they completely left out my mother's bed sores when they sent her home. Both times she was in the hospital.
Wow. What's really sad is that there's a lot of flus going around. And I was listening to Dr. McCullough the other day, and he was talking about a very easy way that only costs, maybe you have to buy, one of those things that go over your nose. One of those breathers that you have what are they called?
Trying to think of the
tank.
Yeah. And what they do is you get 12% peroxide, and you mix that down to a food grade peroxide, and you mix it into a little pint jar of really good water. And then what you do is you put in like a teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt and 3/4 of a teaspoon of that 12% peroxide. So it's 3 times 1 1/4 spoons. And then you put that in the refrigerator. And then when you need to have that go into your lungs and go that, it'll get rid of all the, RSVP that's going around and bronchitises, and you won't be on any ventilators. And he said it's less than $20.
The little machine is just a thing that mists mists a medicine of whatever kind.
For asthma people.
Mist.
Asthma
people.
Yeah.
Come on, the inhaler type deal, like the little that comes from those. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little machine that you put in there, and it just puts it over your nose and your mouth. You breathe in. It's for inhaling people with asthma.
Yeah, I know.
And you just buy yourself a little machine on Amazon for about $60, and you buy the peroxide. You've got all your remedy you need instead of going to a hospital. We've got that here now, to where if anything happens, we can automatically just start that treatment. And he said it's by far one of the best treatments he has ever witnessed in all of his 20, 30 years of teaching. So, and it's cheap.
Particularly for respiratory
issues. Yes.
Yeah, any respiratory issues, because this very, very dilute hydrogen peroxide solution.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Apparently, just cleans out all of the pathogens in your lungs, and that includes any viruses that you may have, including the common cold virus or or the modified common cold virus they repackaged and sold as a coronavirus.
Yeah. But I thought
mean,
that was fascinating to know
So,
that.
let's try and be careful when we use our words because we are on YouTube on the show.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
It's all right. You know how it goes. I mean,
so we must hail our truths.
Anyway, I mean, I don't really care, man. If they're gonna, give me a third strike, they're gonna give me a third strike. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm just gonna keep on doing what I do, regardless.
Oh man,
definitely won't be doing YouTube very much anymore when they keep doing that shit, though. That's for sure.
No, and that is, that what
They're only doing it because
looking
we're
at.
allowing them to do it.
Right.
People
And
wouldn't just be like laid back and let them do that to them. And everybody, when they first started doing it, if everybody just was like, hell no, you're not doing that shit to us and taking away our First Amendment right of freedom of speech, they wouldn't be doing that shit. But everybody was so passive when they did it and thought, oh, well, I gotta, sit down and suck their balls so I can have my show on YouTube or what.
I know it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's freaking ridiculous.
yeah.
Sorry, I'll
Yeah.
watch my
P's
mouth.
and Q's.
Well, speaking.
Oh, you're
going-
good. No, you're good, Dottie. I love that. That was you. Couldn't have said it better myself. You're absolutely right, and it pisses
I mean,
me
what
off.
do they really want?
that
from
we
us?
gotta
We have a
right.
constitutional right to speak, to say what we want. That is our right. These are
Damn
not
right.
privileges. These are
That's
not
our 14th
privileges.
Amendment. Yeah.
These
That's
are,
our
it's the
14th
14th
Amendment.
or is it the First Amendment?
First.
Freedom of
14th.
speech.
First
Is
Amendment.
The freedom of speech.
14th
First
Amendment.
Amendment.
14th Amendment.
Was the 14th?
No, it's not. Freedom of speech.
No,
I think
freedom of speech is the First
Find out.
Amendment.
Right.
Oh,
14th is the gun.
No, Second Amendment is the
We're
gun.
writing about them.
Second is the gun.
The
Have to
second.
look
Well, I
it
know
up.
I have them. That's all I know.
Yeah,
Mhm.
That's why they're called inalienable rights, folks.
that's
They
right.
make
And
them
remember,
privileges and they're not.
they're God given. In other words, you have those rights because you exist as a human being. They're not given by a government at all.
Well, we have a soul. Until they get jurisdiction over you, then they make you have no soul. They say you're dead. You become a dead entity when they get jurisdiction over you.
They
in the
create
courts.
a fiction that you are a dead entity. In fact,
A
they can't-
fiction, but you're dead to them, and that's why they get jurisdiction and do the things they are doing to us
right.
with
Right.
the old people and everything, because we've given them that. We let them say that we don't like, basically we don't have souls anymore. You want to mess with them, you just gotta get rid of your soul, apparently.
Yeah.
Well,
Just
I mean,
have
it makes sense because they don't seem to have any souls themselves. I mean, so you know.
have to-
Everything's full of shit. CHIT.
Yeah, because everything that we've ever
funny.
been taught is a lie. Like, you have to start over. You have to forget everything you've ever learned. If you really want to know what's going on in the world today, you have to chuck out everything you've ever learned in your life. You got to chuck all that shit that they taught you out the window and start fresh and with new eyes and a new perspective, like a little kid. Like, you don't know anything, and start learning over, because everything we've been taught is bullshit.
Right. Yeah. So it's so true.
Very true.
It's so true. As a matter of fact, when I was a little kid, I guess it wasn't, it was like second or third grade when I figured out, hey, wait a minute, there's something wrong here, because they're not teaching me what I'm here to learn. What I went to school to learn was, how do I use this beautiful instrument, this mind and body combination? How do I use that? And how does it function so that I can then use it to accomplish my goals in life? And so what I wanted to know is, teach me how to think. But they weren't teaching how to think.
No, they don't want
They're
you to
teaching
think.
what to think. they intend to give you a set of beliefs that you will then think from then on, and then you're to live with those beliefs and live by those beliefs so that you become an obedient citizen and
A good little drone. A good little
good little-
drone.
Well, God forbid you have critical thinking and you think for yourself, because then you get
How
attacked.
dare you?
You know, like these people that talk about what is it that they say, gang stalking? Is it called? Is that what? Yeah, gang stalking that they call it. That shit is real, man. Why are those people being gang stalked? Because they're critical thinkers. They don't like that. They're like, oh, we're just gonna have to fuck your mind up, so you know you don't know what you're doing. we're just going to make you think you're crazy at the end of the day. So you stop having critical thinking, and we're going to make you feel crazy because you can think outside the box. You can think for yourself. You can see what we're doing. So now we have to do something to you. They attack people. They got to do something to you for being a critical thinker.
They do.
That's what
Absolutely.
happened to those
They've
people.
been
Those
doing
people
what-
aren't
they
crazy.
do
Those
that-
people aren't drug addicts. No, they may end up turning to drugs because they're making them crazy.
Well, just look at in your case, you know, you've experienced the gang stalking, and so is that one chick, you know, like that's in St. Louis as well. You both have, and I've heard you both describe them doing that shit to you guys, and they are.
So that word is new to me. What is this? Oh, gang, like GANG stalking.
Yeah, gang stalking. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
okay.
what they call it when the government messes with you because you're a critical thinker.
Yeah. Well, basically, they gang stalked everybody that said, "Hey, wait a minute, I don't think I want to take your damn shot." And hey, wait a minute, I don't believe what's being taught about this virus. I don't believe it. I mean, hey, I was gang stalked by most of the people I knew, many members of my family. They all were part of a gang that had been brainwashed by the media, by the public.
Exactly. And they don't even know they're doing that shit. A lot of them don't even
Right.
realize they're doing
No,
it.
they don't. Because
programmed in
they're
the subconscious mind.
shut down.
Yeah,
have
well, it's
seen
programmed
it
in that subconscious
in
mind. So they're
every-
just acting out of their subconscious, so they don't know what they're doing half the time because they got fucked up programming. That's what we
Yeah.
all do.
Well, I've seen it. I've seen this divide, and not only just in my own family, but a lot of other families, people that I know, people that I knew, you know, like, and I can't even count how many like every single one of them has had some member of their family be caught up into this brainwashing, and they just don't have any concept of how to think critically for themselves, and they just are toting the line. And it's like, and they really believe that they're doing the right thing. They're so far gone. Because they can't fathom that they could be wrong. The thought that they might be wrong is just so unfathomable because of how far these bastards have gone. They would rather live in the delusion that it's not happened, you know. And it's like, it's sad, and it's causing a lot of division.
It's a horrible thing to if someone points out to you, you have been believing something and you're deluded. You have been believing something that is not true. You have been taught something that is a lie, and all of these people around you that also say the same thing have also bought the same lie. If you say that to someone, even if it's 100% true, their automatic response is, no, get away, you enemy. You're trying to tell me that I'm wrong. Go away. You're wrong. And especially if the brainwashing that they endured that brought them to that conclusion was done through, I mean, a friend of mine one time asked me, how do you brainwash somebody? I said, well, fear is the most powerful thing. You know, if somebody walks up to you, puts a gun to your head and says, you're going to give me your wallet or you're going to die. You know, there's very few people that are going to go, oh, no, I'm keeping my wallet.
Yeah.
They pretty much
right.
now control your actions because of the fear that people have of dying. And, you know, it's like, it's just, if you want to manipulate someone, make them so fearful of you that, or fearful of whatever it is that you make them fearful of, that they stop thinking and just act according to the directions and instructions that you give them. And that's what they did to the vast majority of people in the world. Millions and millions of people were taught terror. You heard the terror oozing from all of the instruments. You know, I mean, you heard, if this doctor, if these 12 doctors are all wicked liars that you need to just cross out of your listening to entirely, because they're saying that what we're telling you isn't true. And so don't listen to any of those. They're the dirty dozen. They're this or this. And of course, you know, they're the people that were telling the truth about what was really going on.
And
in
the
the world.
reason why it's only the dirty dozen, because there's like 150 to 60 integrative doctors or natural doctors that were murdered or killed or died somehow.
Yeah, that was after the.
That was way.
Oh,
before.
yeah. Oh,
Way
no,
before.
I read about that. No, you're right. No, like I was like, oh, that's odd. these mysterious deaths of these natural homeopathic
Oh,
doctors.
and then
What are the chances that freaking that was not? Come on, there's got to be a connection there at the
There's
time.
got to be a connection.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, all of a sudden they're dying from this. Oh, that someone went into this house and killed. Oh, they fell down the stairs. All kinds of stories about over 150 or 60 of them that died. And all
they're
of a
just
sudden,
odd, like
comes out.
fishy death explanations. It seems like too. It's like what you would expect from like a cover up of a death, like
Some
just like
suspicious
an
deaths.
assassination, really. Like, oh, just how you got suddenly hit by a car walking across the street out of
Yeah,
the blue.
nobody's tracking
don't
it.
know.
Nobody's doing anything about it. The FBI, I don't think the FBI or anybody's involved in it. I don't understand.
I think the FBI is involved in it. They're helping.
Oh,
them.
right.
Well,
I was gonna say they're not involved in investigating any of these deaths because they're part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know, but
they're part
somebody's
of the
got to be
sponsors.
involved.
There's part of the sponsorship program that's allowing all these deaths to happen and causing these deaths
So
and coordinating these deaths.
So who would find out what happened to them? Nobody. I mean,
Well, people
Apparently
like
not. Nobody's doing their jobs now. Like, look at the DOJ. I mean, they're not doing their job at all right now.
no. And the FBI, oh man, when we took hard, clear evidence of all kinds of corruption going on in the court system, they very politely listened to us and
that was it.
did nothing else. Nothing else.
Nothing. Some
Nothing
paperwork
ever
been
came
doing
out.
for 5 years.
There's only one thing you can count on the FBI for, and that is to do nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's so true. It's so true. And so sad because that's supposed to be, again, regulatory capture. That's one more agency captured by the shadow government, the people that really run the world, the Committee of 300, which of course you can look on Google to discover that that's nothing but a conspiracy theory because the Committee of 300 is Google is owned by those same people who are part of that Committee of 300.
And I want to take a moment to like really make people think, how hard would it be if you really think about it? It would not, if you had all the money and resources to be able to freaking to do whatever you wanted, it would not be that hard to throw a little mud back, freaking off the books money to these organizations and say, hey, play ball with us. Think about it, folks. If you think about it from that perspective, it would not be that hard. And if you do it that way, you're gonna you're gonna freaking, you don't want nobody to know that you're freaking really running shit. So you have this little freaking narrative going on. But the reality is, it's not that difficult for people in those positions to do that. It's not that hard. You just have to exert a little bit of influence, a little bit of pressure. It's not that difficult. We do it all the time when we fight these corruption cases, exposing them and putting them on blast. They can do the same. They just do it for nefarious purposes and selfish reasons, And
they're well financed enough till they can pay whoever they want to pay, whatever it's going to take. Because when you're getting millions and millions and millions of dollars for free because you steal it, or for free because you extort it from governments, when you have that kind of an economy where money doesn't cost you anything, then now you can spend however much it takes. What's your price? I need $30 million. How about 28 million? It's nothing to me, but
it's just bad, everybody. You've got to do your own research. You got to be your own educator.
And
nowadays.
the truth is, you're not going to be able to find it on Google.
Yeah.
Dr. Google is lying just like all the other doctors.
So is Wikipedia.
Who are all afraid.
Oh yeah.
Wikipedia.
Doctors are afraid to tell you the truth about effective drugs and treatments for that well-known virus that has attacked so many people, because they will lose their license. And I have that authority from doctors that I have spoken with.
Yeah.
And
also
said, look,
Wikipedia
I can't even
mention,
I can't even mention that I word that cured your disease. Can't even mention it. Although I'm using it myself because I have that disease. I can't tell you about it. I can't even mention it.
Which
because
one? Ivermectin?
No, I can't even mention it.
Don't mention that one.
Don't mention
it. We can't talk about that one.
Can't talk about this. We'll lose our medical license.
It's funny because they recently said that they now backtracked and said now it's okay. Doctors can use that now again. All of a sudden, recently, like if you look at it, was a
very, very, very strange.
Tranquilizer, isn't that the one I used
It's a
that
horse
cured me?
dewormer. Yeah.
That's the one that they claim, yeah. But yeah, I think it was, yeah. I'm
That's the
pretty sure
one
it
that
was.
saved my life. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
here for
Right.
Dr. Jim
So,
Meehan.
YouTube, if you are listening, they already said it's okay on their own official CDC website. So you can't freaking censor us for that because we're not going against the grain there. So nah.
Oh, man.
Ah, yeah.
Well, it's just that they were telling lies to people, and so many people were able to figure it out after doing their own research and then started using it and getting cured themselves. And so they, the lie was becoming more and more visible. All of a sudden, people are going, look at that delicious cheese. Wait, that's Swiss cheese. Wait a minute. That cheese is really full of holes. Hang on a minute. That's just a fabric of lies. There's no truth in it. And so many people were understanding that it was a fabric of lies and there's no truth in it, that these drugs that they were officially telling you, don't take them, they're dangerous. People are overdosing on this because they don't know how to take them, they're dangerous. Well, it's also got the Nobel Prize for being an effective medicine and has been approved for people, and one of the most harmless medicines on the market for, 18 years, 16 years, I don't know. And now so many people came to the knowledge of that because people like us stood up and said, no, that's wrong. Did the research, found the truth. Here's the truth. This is an effective treatment. That it became clear that we're telling the truth and they were lying. And so now okay, you can say that now.
Isn't it funny though how they never like take accountability for their lies or their lies of omission, and they'll always then they like to come in and pretend like they discovered it. Like, come on, get the fuck out of here. They take the credit for it, don't they?
Yeah. Yes. It now turns out that all of those conspiracy theorists weren't actually conspiracy theorists. They were just truth tellers. Whistleblowers is another word that
what they call true information they don't want you to know. Malinformation. That's a new one.
Yeah. It's not misinformation. It's actually true, but it's malinformation because you won't buy the drugs we're selling if you listen to this true information. So it's going to hurt our profits. So we don't want you listening to that.
And I'm just looking at this.
Basically, truth that goes against what the government wants you to know. Basically, folks, is what it comes down to. It's just another way for them to freaking. This is it. It's basically comes down to them having a term for that. Sorry, Luanne.
So I was looking at this thing about our stores out here. They're trying to all merger, right? So King Soopers is supposed to be going in with Albertsons. They're trying to merge over 400 stores, and it says that they would receive financial support from SoftBank Group Corp, a Japanese holding company. So so does that mean that all these stores now are going to be owned by Japanese holding company? That doesn't sound right to me.
No, that sounds right to me.
That's kind of what they do here nowadays. Is
that kind of scary or what? I mean,
that is scary.
I mean, there goes all of our stores.
Pretty much.
Well,
what's going on?
What are they? It sounds like they're consolidating to me.
They're consolidating. They're taking all these stores and they're buying 400 wholesale grocery stores over out here. All of them are trying to turn into one grocery store. Oh my God, the competition. There's no competition anymore.
No such thing. No such thing as competition.
I don't know. I'd say everybody just start doing whatever you can to protect yourself, I guess. In the food industry, hospital industry, educate yourself, be your own doctor. Like I've had to do numerous times, and the scary thing is I took this one medicine a couple of days ago for 5 or 6 times, I ended up having some really heart difficulties. My heart monitor kept going off on my watch saying abnormal heartbeat. And I think, what's going on? And it's this medication that I took over the counter. Freaked me out, man. I figured out what it really was. And that's ever since I've been off it, I feel fine. So you've got to be careful about your over-the-counter medications as well.
Yeah, no, that's weird.
And I looked at it because my sister says, you got to take this stuff. So I took it and I looked on it was polyglycol, polyethylene. it had like 6 different, numbers in there for color, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're not supposed to be doing any of those fake chemicals. So
Right.
all that, I was just putting jet fuel in my body. I'm like, oh my God. So
You know,
gotta be,
like, go ahead.
you got to be careful with even over-the-counter medicine. Everything you put in your body, you've got to be careful over. Because either it's got some, some Roundup, or it's got some kind of chemicals or jet fuels. You ever see the cupcakes over at the grocery store? Oh my gosh. They got like 60 different chemicals in there. I mean,
Oh, wow.
they're like jet fuel bombs. These are cupcakes that they sell to kids and stuff they take to schools. Something's going on, it's bad. I mean, I said, do you want a jet fuel cookie?
They speaking on that about being careful about medications, and you could looking at what's actually you're actually getting. The blood thinners that my mother's on for it's what was the name of it? It's Eliquis, right? But
That's what my sister's on.
It had gone up so much. It went up this last month, like from like freaking. It was actually really reasonable not too long ago, like less than $90 for like 60-day supply, and then it went up. Now it's like $600 for a 30-day. I'm like, whoa, we can't afford that. So we had the doctor put her on her alternative. Well, I don't know what this alternative is made on, but it did not have a good effect on my mom. She got really freaking ill and she got sore, like redness on her body. It was just all bad. So we didn't continue that, but it was just, we weren't expecting that. But you're right. You got to be careful what medicines you're taking, because there could be unknown side effects. Like in that, and I had experience that just this last week with my mother.
Yeah, and especially the doctors. I had this one doctor who always gave me a pill for the ill, and I'd go home with like 5 or 6 prescriptions, and I'd say, I'm not taking none of them. I'm going to research what my problems are, and don't go to Dr. Google or any of those. You can go to Brave or Firefox isn't as bad, and go look up some of these things and go look at some of these terms. You can't even use Wikipedia anymore because they're saying it's changed so much because it was bought out by the owners. So you got to be careful with Wikipedia now. So it's like, God, who do you turn to? So we're reading books from well-known doctors now, and that's it.
There you go, books.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
Books from good
Real books.
Yeah.
Like people used to actually read back in the day, folks,
Yeah. Books. Now that's those things that have paper in the
They're
middle.
behind us, hon. You have some.
You wiggle them around and look at the little symbols, right?
Yeah. Gosh, I tell you what, it's a scary world.
Well, I'll tell you what, talking again, going back to the idea of continuity of government. I think that's something that bears thinking about, because what the government now has become, I know a few people that were raised in Cuba, and I know people that were raised in communist China. And
they see it too. They see it more than the most of us do. The majority of us. They see it clearer.
What I'm hearing from the people that I know that grew up in Cuba, and the people that were raised in China, and are old enough to have watched part of the Cultural Revolution going on there. What I'm hearing from them is, wow, the United States looks a lot like China before the Cultural Revolution, or during the Cultural Revolution, Cuba when Castro came to power. The things that I'm seeing happening here are the things that were happening there. And when we're talking about continuity of government, it's really, really, really important that I think people in the United States realize what the foundations of our government are meant to be, and that we, the people, are actually an integral part of government who must remain involved in the governmental process, or it becomes something that is a tyranny. And that tyranny is something where a political party comes to power, and then they do things like persecute opposition to that political party. So if there's someone who's successful, who is a challenger of the powers that are in power, they simply persecute. They'll arrest them on false charges. They'll charge them with all kinds of things in order to neutralize any opposition. And there's only one viewpoint that is a permissible viewpoint. There's only one viewpoint that is allowable under such a government, like a tyrannical government, such as communist China, such as Cuba under Castro, where you have a tyrant or a group of tyrants that run the government. Well, it appears that right now in the United States, I look at it, and because I have the perspective of a certain understanding of history, because I've done research into World War II, not in depth, but enough to understand what some of the causative factors were and what some of the political factors were and what was going on and how the government treated the people under Nazism and how there were other governments in the world that were also killing their people and oppressing their people and murdering their people wholesale. Lenin was responsible for incredible numbers of deaths, and Marx, Lenin, Khrushchev, many of these individuals were responsible for horrible genocides, and they had certain mechanisms in place in their society where, such as in Nazi Germany, one of the most obvious was the Hitler Youth. They would take the youth, they would indoctrinate them into a point of view that endorsed a certain understanding of the world. And then if they went home and they saw their parents, being supportive of Jewish people or being helpful towards Jewish people or simply not expressing hostility towards Jewish people. Now you've got Hitler Youth that go, aha, mom and dad are no good, they're bad. And now you've divided the family so that you have one generation saying, you are not vaccinated, so you are endangering everybody. And the other generation saying, you're taking this horrible thing that they're injecting people with, so you're endangering everybody and you're in danger yourself. And now you've divided the society. Now you're breaking up the families. And this is a way of instituting control, because you break down the family structure. Then the individual is left afloat without the guidance of the infrastructure, their social culture and family around them. Now, when you brainwash them with your indoctrination through the media, through the schools, through the medical schools, through the, all of these various things, now you can gain a very high degree of control over how that individual thinks, and you can begin to program the populace to act the way you want them to act and to do the things you want them to do and to live according to the rules that you set, which keep them enslaved. And then they become the instruments of enslaving each other because, hey, you're not conforming.
Yeah, but what is
so you're ostracized. You're no longer part of the group.
What does that sound like? When you mentioned how they come in and split the whole family, it sounds like guardianship abuse, because they do the same tactics. They come in and they take your parent away. Then they say, you can't have your parents anymore. You're exploiting them. So they get you completely out of the picture. So they have control. That's the same playbook.
It is
exactly what we talk about on our radio shows every Wednesday night.
Right.
The same thing.
It's almost like we got infiltrated because they're using a lot of the same tactics. It seems like there's a lot of Nazi-esque tactics that are straight out of Nazi Germany.
That's what's going on.
It begs the question. Did we really win the war, or were we just led to believe that we did? That's the real question, because look at the way things are playing out now.
That's a good question.
According to a little more in-depth research than most that I have done, Operation Paperclip wasn't just where they went and took a few Nazi heads of the Nazi party and installed them into powerful places in the governments of the nations. No, it was much, much deeper than that. Because remember all of those Jews that were killed in the concentration camps? What those were identities. And what those people had were identifying information. And so what you got after the Second World War, at the close of the war, was a negotiated peace where, and remember, people often don't understand and don't realize that there were multinational industrialists that are known as Americans. I mean, like John D. Rockefeller, if Standard Oil of New Jersey hadn't built coal gas, if Ford Motor Company hadn't built truck plants for Hitler, he would have been out of business. If Standard Oil of New Jersey hadn't sold him coal gasification technology when he was running out of gas, he'd have been out of business. These American industrialists were Nazis, supporting the Nazi Party, actively doing things to assist the Nazis. It was I.G. Farben, which ultimately became what we know as Bayer today, that built the gas chambers and designed the poisons that were used.
Really? Bayer? Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yes,
Bayer's got a bad rap from what I heard about so many issues.
Well deserved. So what happened with Operation Paperclip was thousands and thousands of Nazis adopted the papers, persona, and persons of
those that were in the camps
Jews somewhere, and now
I heard that too. Yeah,
Germany, and as a freshly minted Jew, they went into society and began again the indoctrination of the people and culture around them in a way that they could control the various heads of state. And so we see a lot of very powerful people in place now who are directly out of the Nazi Party. As a matter of fact, the Bush family, if you go back far enough, a couple of generations back, you find that Big Papa Bush was right there helping the Nazis. It's mind-boggling how much you can find of the truth about who these people really are that are running the governments of the nations and what their background really is. So much so that I really feel confident, and I think it's fair to say that we are in the midst of the unfolding of the Fourth Reich right here in America right now. And sounds, what kind of bonkers extremist is that? No, it's just the truth. It's just the truth.
Look at the tactics that are being used. I mean, they just went subtle about it. They're just like not so much because obviously they're fucking not hiding what they're doing anymore. They obviously are, showing their true colors now, but the tactics they're using are the same exact tactics that were used during that time. And
right.
So how do you explain that, folks? That's my question.
Right. And in Nazi Germany, they went after all the intellectuals. They took out the university professors. Then they went after the barbers because that was a community center where people would gather and talk, and they could organize together. They went, they went after the clergy, and they're taking out all of these key organizing principles in society. And what happened under COVID? Well, let's see. You're going to have to close your churches because we have to isolate everyone socially. You're going to have to lock yourself away in your house, and there won't be any more public gatherings because that's dangerous. You just have to sit and watch this indoctrination device that we put in all of your homes now that you paid for. You bought these indoctrination devices and you turn them on for entertainment, and we're going to indoctrinate you into what to believe through them. And
people had to carry around paper with them, notes with them from their hospitals, from their work, saying, I'm able to be out on the street. I'm a first responder. But everybody else were getting tickets.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was crazy out here.
And any doctor that didn't toe the line and say, yeah, there's only one effective thing you can do, and that's sit home and wait to die until you get so sick that you go to the hospital, and then they give you horrible death-causing treatments, and too bad, we'll call it COVID.
Or you would go to a hospital and they would kick you out sicker than a dog. They would do nothing for you. Oh, did you have a COVID shot? No, I'm sorry, we can't take care of you here. It happened to me 6 times. I went to 6 hospitals. Finally, I gave up and called up a doctor, a professional doctor out in Oklahoma. I couldn't even go out here. Dr. Jim Meehan, everybody, you need to know this man's name. He's a functional doctor out in Oklahoma. He works out in Colorado and different areas. He gave me ivermectin, saved my life. And I'm free to talk about ivermectin now because we have the okay.
Yes,
notice,
finally.
you notice Facebook, you couldn't even mention the word ivermectin. You couldn't even talk about it.
Well-
On any of these stations, it's like, even my
Well-
own doctor says, I can't even talk about that word. I will get sanctioned. I said, so
Yeah,
what do you,
I
What do
still
you
think a
think?
lot of doctors aren't aware that they've done this because they just kind of did it in the background. I mean, it was kind of a story, but like not people like you guys weren't even aware of it. But yeah, like this happened a few weeks back.
right after
But
that,
everybody needs to know.
our functional doctor sold his business and just retired because he couldn't take it anymore. He just did. And now we have to go find other doctors. It's so sad.
Oh no, that's
Oh gosh. I'm gonna ask him when I call him up. Can you discuss ivermectin? If they say no, I'm not going to them. That's kind of
Oh,
strange.
man.
But like I
It
said,
is.
you got to research and do your own work. You really do.
Yeah, nobody's going to come and save us, folks. We have to save ourselves, and that means doing the work for ourselves, and that means doing the research. And there's no reason we can't. We all have the tools at our disposal in the palm of our hands. So let's get to it.
Exactly. And doing shows like this with different radio show hosts and just coming on every week and just tuning in to everybody and talking about what's on everybody's mind is a good thing, because we have to fill in some of the media out there that aren't able to talk about what they want to talk about.
Right.
Well, even if they did want to, I mean, that they're
Sanctioned.
when Pfizer is sponsoring the show that you are on, you're not going to be able to say, you know what?
Of course not.
This shot is a load of bunk, man, and it's dangerous and it's toxic and it's harming people and you shouldn't take it. Even if you know that to be true, you say
Right.
any of that and that's the last of you. Sorry, Tucker, you're off the show. Just look at this. That's probably the biggest and most obvious example of conflict of interest I have seen as of yet to date with that whole Fox News brought to you by Pfizer or CNN brought to you by Pfizer. Like, come on, dude. I mean, it's right there. Yeah, and we're going to give you balanced, honest reporting, except when it comes to.
You want to bring it up on the screen here, Dottie? And we can share it. We'd love that. The food topic. Sorry, go ahead.
The food topic, yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and we could talk about this stuff all day long. We talk about this stuff all day long, every day, 24 hours a day. We don't even cover a tenth of it.
Don't forget to share your sound, Dottie.
Hey, by the way, the video you did was great, by the way. We watched
thank you. Appreciate
the entirety of that. It was awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to be putting together the article for it here in the next couple of days with the time code source bar that I had mentioned in the video. In case anybody was wondering where they can find it, it's coming. I just have to put it in the article, and I'm going to do it like I did in the launch article. So it'll be good. It'll have all the sources right there for you folks. Excellent. And that's just the shorter version. I wanted to do a more extensive one, so I'll probably end up doing a little bit longer one in more depth on some of these on certain other bits of evidence that I didn't really have time to cover on this last one. So I'll be doing a follow-up, a more in-depth analysis.
Yeah, from what I heard,
or like a couple hours.
There is some kind of a settlement agreement or something like that, and the Hanty case, the Stuart Hanty case, and the Roger Hilligus case. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. I'm going to find out with Allie and everybody to find out what's going on. But those people should be set free. There's no reason to.
Yeah, they should be. Because what these bastards have done to them is wrong. It's so fucked up. I mean, we've shown everything right there, like that.
No, that was stuff. The whole thing. They were tracking him from day one. They were tracking him and still waited a week to go get him because they had to sell the house and take the whole estate and everything really quick.
He's gonna wipe.
Yeah. I know you guys did a great video, boy. I was loving on that one. You guys did excellent. Robin too as a narrator. You guys is narrating. You did good.
If it hadn't been for your encouragement, I probably wouldn't have done my own narration on that too. But I did. And I figured, what the hell?
You're good. You're good. So don't worry about not narrating anymore. You did.
I'm thanking you because it gave me the motivation to do it anyway. And now I'm looking back, I'm like, I did do a pretty good job.
And that bum bung, and they were like Law and Order was perfect.
I thought it was fitting though. I thought it was fitting. It kind of like
It was excellent. We could do many more of those videos with that in there. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I like to
definitely.
put a story together of my family too. It would blow your mind of the fraud that happened in ours. It would blow your mind.
Whenever you're ready, Dottie.
Oh, I'm ready. This is
The box.
just a little bit of information.
Uh-oh.
Oh, maybe you should tell them what the box is, Dottie. The podcast you're planning on doing.
Oh yeah, I'll tell them after.
Okay.
Don't trust fake news.
That was great.
Well,
Don't trust fake news. That's funny. That was perfect.
So explain what the box is, or it's going to be. The show you came
like another podcast, but it's just supposed to be more about like healing and knowing, like sharing information like that, and you know, that kind of nature, like meditating and because we talk about so much stuff that's so unhealthy, like just even talk about. Like you take that stuff in, you absorb it. It's the energy, because we're talking about such negative things, so we have to be able to give something, back in a positive way. I don't want people to always walk away feeling drained.
Right.
No,
Exactly.
absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
But you can encourage, a lot of people to do the right things by making sure that they eat a lot of organic foods, and you go to good stores and you just take care of yourself. You get rid of the plastics in your home as much as you can.
Well, the whole idea,
you just really work at it.
The whole idea of coming to understand the truth about genetically modified organisms,
right,
and about the chemicals in the food, and about the corruption in the political system and the food system. The whole idea is that you learn about it so that you can make positive, intelligent choices that liberate you and free you from those influences in your life. If you don't know those influences exist, then you're subject to them without knowing. But as soon as you start to understand what the world really is like,
exactly,
it may be kind of depressing to discover that there's all of this going on that you didn't know, but at the same time, it also empowers you to make personal choices that take you out of the danger that's posed by these things, because we do have a lot of control over what we choose to eat. And we do have a fair amount of control over whether or not we decide to adopt a particular viewpoint that is one that's being pushed at us through the media. But only if we understand that it is being pushed at us and that there's other viewpoints possible. So it's a lot of hard truths that we're dealing with, but I think it's definitely got its place to listen to those hard truths, because what it does is it makes us powerful to stand up to the things that are doing the wrong in the world. If you understand what GMOs are and you begin to avoid them, you're going to be better off.
Exactly. And you know, another thing I wanted to mention is I became a certified aromatherapist. So instead of doing a lot of chemicals, bringing chemicals in your home and trying to make you feel better, just start making up your own remedies so you understand that what your body can handle and not. Being a certified aromatherapist, it was wonderful, the best thing I've ever done, because I'm understanding more about the chemicals in our homes and how to combat by not using them and using more certified organic products.
I ran a cleaning business that was chemical free.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was just gonna say you should tell them about that a bit.
I use these cloths called Norwax, and they had silver in them, so they killed the bacteria. And I would clean these homes with nothing but these washcloths and water.
That's what they do with when we ran the light.
My
Nice.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you could do that.
clients being sick ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could make your own. You could make your own wipes. You could do everything with essential oils. I tell you, it's amazing. You know, I love doing that. It's just the best way. One of the best ways to just use every day. I make so many different remedies. I love it. One of the best things I've ever done for myself, my family.
Oh, you got that link I sent you on how to make the queen, I think it's pronounced quinine or whatever, with the grapefruit rinds.
Quinine?
And
Quinine?
yeah.
No, it was actually
fever.
Not ubiquinol.
Quinine.
Quercetin.
No, I feel it was quinine, I believe. I think yeah, it was
Indian tonic water has that. The fever tree tonic water has quinine in it.
I got the two confused. Yeah, it's quinine.
Yeah.
You did get the link that I sent, right?
I don't know if I did, man. I don't know. Did you text it or did you email
I
it?
think I emailed it.
Oh, good luck with that. That'll get lost for sure.
I'll find it and I'll resend it.
Yeah, resend it.
I'd
That'd be
appreciate it.
undo.
Yeah, I'd appreciate it.
So you guys
I'll
ever
put it
need
on here.
aromatherapy, I could help you out. I love it.
I don't know,
Here.
know much about that. What are the benefits?
Oh my gosh. Well, if you take certain essential oils, you can use it for anxiety, depression, and it doesn't cure. Okay, I'm not going to say essential oils cure, but it does put you in a really good mood. You know, you can't say to cure because the FDA comes after you because it's not FDA regulated, but it does help with the moods and it does help relax you. And it's just for emotional support, you know, and it's just really comforting. It smells great. And you can use essential oils for cleaning your home. You can use them in your baths. You can use them for making up your own bug spray. You can do everything with them, a lot of things with them. So I really enjoyed doing that. I make my own lotions. I make my own bug spray as well. I do everything with them.
What about hair products? Do they have things like that? Because I know that a lot of stuff to the shampoo, they have class action lawsuits right now for that.
Right. And that's the reason why that is because a lot of that has hydrous product in there, which is water. And if you mix that, you have to have some kind of a fixative in it with. So yeah. Gotta be
Here's that
careful.
video I'm telling you guys about right here. I did send it to you, but I sent it, put it in the Zoom chat as well. I'm gonna play it real quick.
Look at that.
Wow. That's pretty simple.
It is actually. I've already made a second batch of it because we've gone through
How
the
do you,
first.
how do you do that? Can you kind of explain?
Yeah, so you take 3 grapefruit rinds, 3 lemon rinds, you cut them up into bits, decent sized squares, but like
Mhm.
oh my camera's freezing up. Hold on. Let me fix this real quick. There we go. Put it into a little size bits about that big. Chop them up into squares, put them in a pot. 3 cups of water, bring it to a boil, let it boil for about 10 minutes. And you want to keep the top on too, so that it's does the because you're gonna, and after the 10 minutes, you're gonna keep it on, put it on simmer for 3 hours. Let it boil or let it do its thing. When it's done, turn off the stove, let it cool off. You strain it with the strainer into a mason jar, and then you have your quinine, which is a natural form of hydroxychloroquine, folks.
Right.
Wow.
And
Did you say grapefruit?
Yeah,
Grapefruit?
grapefruit. But you can
Wow.
also do oranges as well. But grapefruit, I usually use grapefruit when I do it. Grapefruit.
Can you do it with something else besides grapefruit?
Yeah, oranges work, lemons work, limes I imagine would work too. Yeah,
Lemons.
we've got oranges too. Yeah.
We got a whole bunch of lemons and oranges.
there you go.
So you just put water in there and boil it?
Yep, yeah, 3 cups of water. So three grapefruit or orange rinds, and then 3 lemon rinds, and then 3 cups of water. Bring it to a boil. Let it boil for 10 minutes. Bring it down to simmer and simmer for 3 hours, and then let it cool. Yeah, and then you just
That's all
strain
you
it.
do?
Yeah, you might want to check because when you do it, a lot of the it's going to get absorbed inside it's going because it extracts it out of the rind. So you may have to like use a presser and get the rest out of the rind that's like absorbed in there after it's but you'll get it all out and just fill up a jar with it. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
And for those who don't know, the commonalities between quercetin and quinine and I think hydroxychloroquine and I believe ivermectin, each of them are a zinc ionophore. Now, what a zinc is something that our body needs to be able to. Our body needs zinc to be able to for the defense system to function. But zinc carries, I think, it's a positive charge, and the body is charged negatively, or maybe I've got that backwards, but I think that's right. So it's not easily absorbed into the body. So in order for zinc to be absorbed, you need a zinc ionophore. And that's what each of these things have in common, is that they will take the zinc that you get into your bloodstream and deliver it into the cells, thus empowering the cell to be able to defend itself against all kinds of viruses or whatever it may be that your body's dealing with. Quinine, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, and quercetin, all of these are zinc ionophores, and they will escort the zinc into the cells, thus empowering your body to use it, and thus strengthening your immune system.
That's what happened to me when I had COVID. I started taking zinc, and the doctor says you have to have quercetin with it. And I was taking cups and cups of that stuff. I was taking tons and tons, and I did get better. With the ivermectin.
Yeah, it's recommended to take zinc with this little video that they said 2 tablespoons twice a day with zinc.
Yeah. Yep. And that is a very powerful protective mechanism for the body against any kind of virus or cold or flu or
The lemon is already really good. Lemon is excellent.
So this
Oh, yeah.
so the
I love lemon.
apparently they've already made the arrangements for us all to have respiratory syncytial virus coming up pretty soon. So when it hits, because obviously they're planning on putting the venoms back in the water and causing everybody to get this stuff. So when it hits, you're going to need a zinc ionophore, and this is one way to do that. One way to know.
That's good to know. Very, very useful knowledge. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of good stuff going on. Man, we've got a lot of stuff coming up. Man, I wonder. I just want all these bastards to be held accountable for what they've done. That's all I know.
Yeah. Hopefully we can have that happen.
The other thing that I want is not just for them. The accountability would be great, But even more than that, what I would like to see is reversing that tide, reverse the tide on them so that we begin to become the dominant paradigm. Those of us that understand what is going on and are telling the truth and are helping people to heal themselves by giving them good information. I want for us to become the dominant paradigm and for people to realize and wake up and say, hey, wait a minute. I don't want to listen to the liars anymore. I'm going to start listening to these truth tellers. And as they start to listen to the truth tellers and apply the knowledge to their own lives, they heal themselves. They heal their lives. They're able to help their loved ones that are in trouble and suffering. And that's to me, that is a form of holding them accountable. That would be the best.
You know, I think we're already in some methods and manners are already doing that, because I you know, people, when I'm always talking to people trying to explain to them what's going on, my neighbor even, and I was kind of like explaining to him what was really going on and, you know, how, you know, what's really going on behind the scenes with this. And he's like, you know, I'm seeing it in my everyday community. More and more people are waking up daily, and it's you know, it's a snowball effect. And I think we're already we're pretty much already doing it. It just hasn't fully played out yet, but it's very encouraging because I get so much good feedback from people a lot of the time.
Hey, can I tell you something that is like really controversial, but I think it's really important.
Go for it.
I one of those forbidden sources of information that I get some of my information from, what is Stu Peters, and Stu Peters introduced me to several people. But I was watching an episode with Stu Peters, and he had this chiropractor on who was talking about the research that he had done when the whole virus episode hit society, and he began to do research. And he claimed in this interview, and you can dig it up probably by Googling it, or maybe, you know, using the search engine to find. But anyway, he said that all of the symptoms that came along with the virus that shall not be named could also be produced in the body through various kinds of venom. And he claimed that there were 3 kinds of venom that were being found in COVID patients. There was a kind of cobra venom, some kind of a Chinese snake venom, and there was sea snail venom being found in people that were suffering with these symptoms. And he said each of these venoms, when you do research on the venoms, you can find that all of the symptoms people were having can be produced through these venoms. He also said that there's one company that is responsible pretty much worldwide for mixing up the mix that's put into the water systems to act as the water purification technology. And that this one company was envenomating the water, basically, and that wow. They had put these venoms into the water. Well, the really fascinating part of this whole interview was he said that these venoms work by attacking in the body the nicotinic acetylcholine receptors. Now, nicotinic acetylcholine receptors are found throughout the body, and acetylcholine is an essential nutrient. And the nicotinic acetylcholine receptors are they'll switch on or switch off according to whether they're being stimulated or suppressed. Well, these venoms each suppress the nicotinic acetylcholine receptors. He said that to stimulate the nicotinic acetylcholine receptors, the simplest and most direct route was to absorb nicotine. And so he said that he had seen thousands of people cured of COVID symptoms in a few hours or minutes with nicotine gum. And he said, because it's an antidote to these poisons. So I sort of started applying this in my own life. I kind of enjoyed smoking anyway, so I started smoking a little bit. Now, I don't recommend smoking unless you're smoking organic tobacco, because organic tobacco, if you go to the book Power versus Force, they did muscle testing with thousands of different substances. But in that book, it is explained that organic tobacco, you'll always test strong. You know, in other words, if somebody gives you says, here, hold this up against where your liver is, and I will test your strength by pushing down on your arm, 2 fingers, arm extended, hold it up. Now I'll push it down with 2 fingers. And we will grow weaker if we are lying, or if there's something in our immediate environment that's bad for us, we will grow weaker. He said, interestingly, lots of things test weaker, and some people have things that test weaker where other people test stronger for the same thing, but organic tobacco always tests strong. So I always use organic tobacco. But in any case, that's information that I'm just putting it out there because I saw this one source say this one interview that sounded like it had a lot of truth in it. And then I also had my Uncle Rick was this very intelligent and gifted teacher that I had when I was young. And he said that he had an uncle who went all the way through the Spanish flu epidemic many, many, many years back. And this uncle of his worked in the wards where they took care of the Spanish flu patients. So all day, every day, he was around everybody that was sick with the Spanish flu. But he kept a cigarette in his mouth pretty much all the time, the whole time he's working, and he never got sick. And so there it is, folks. There's a little something about nicotine and tobacco that you may or may not have known, but it bears investigating.
And talk about this to snuff up there we use.
Oh, and the other thing is, if you don't like smoking,
I don't.
There's other options. One of which is snuff. Scotch snuff is a powdered tobacco product that you can find if you search it out. It's not everywhere, but you can maybe find it. And it's powdered. It comes in a little tin, and I just have a little in my pocket right here. I can just sort of show you what I did. I got this little container, and it's this right here, little container, and it comes in a larger container, but that's kind of what it looks like. It's just powdered, sort of a brown powdered tobacco, and you
here, give me some.
Take a little bit, put it.
I actually use it when I don't feel good. It makes me feel better though.
Yeah,
but I don't smoke.
And Luanne is absolutely against smoking. She really hates the scent of tobacco smoke. But this stuff will make you sneeze, and it kind of, a little irritant to the interior of your sinuses. But it's a way to get nicotine into your body, and nicotine is the antidote to these poisons, according to this Stu Peters interview with his doctor, and I sort of believe it. So there you go. There you have it.
Talking about the one called Watch the Water, right? Watch the Water was the name of it?
Yeah, that's the one. They did. Yeah, Watch the Water was the documentary that they did, and then he was talking about. Yeah.
Very, very fascinating. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, considering what they've done with the other batch, with that mRNA shit,
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Considering what they're willing to do to cause people illness so that they can prosper and benefit from it.
Yeah.
It's no surprise to think they would do that.
Oh, yeah,
Not to mention, when you think about it, you have a disease that spreads like wildfire through the vast majority of the population while people are isolating at home, not going anywhere, doing anything. How the hell is all these people getting sick? Well, what's the commonality? What's going into all of those homes when no one and nothing else is? Water.
Pretty strange.
If they put something in the water that's causing people illness, and if it turns out that in fact it's these 3 kinds of venom that they're finding in those people who grow sick with this illness, and if those venoms cause the symptoms that we're talking about as being symptoms of this illness, and if all these things add up, and then you discover, well, it's nicotinic acetylcholine receptors being blocked, and then interestingly, about 4 days after I kind of thought all this through and said, I'm going to get me some cigarettes, and I, got some organic tobacco and started rolling up my own and smoking that. And about 4 days in, I noticed I could smell again. when I hadn't been able to ever since I'd had COVID. My sense of smell, now think about that. I'm smoking and my sense of smell gets better. Why? Well, if it's in fact the nicotinic acetylcholine receptors were blocked by the virus or the poison in the water, and now I've got the antidote, and now I'm antidoting all the poisons that I've been exposed to. Now those nicotinic acetylcholine receptors flip back on instead of being switched off. Now that they flip back on, I'm getting back those faculties which were taken away by those nicotinic acetylcholine receptors being suppressed by the toxins. So this is important information.
So it's okay to smoke now.
So it's okay. It's actually the people you see smoking, pat them on the back and say, you're doing the right thing.
Right. It was funny because I know like back in the early, history, like back in the day, doctors would tell you, smoking, it's good, it'll help with your stress. So then, it was a good thing that it was a bad thing. Now it's a good thing again. It's funny how they just, isn't it? I don't, half the time I don't think they know what they're talking about because they keep flip-flopping that.
Oh, I know. Well, I think about diet, it's like people go from vegan to carnivore to keto to paleo to, oh, good God.
Oh my God, I think I've done everyone.
And when I say people, I mean me. I've experimented in all these different directions. And, it's like Luanne.
You have to find your common
Luanne
ground.
goes online and studies with all these doctors. And she asked the question of one, what's the best really? And he said, really, all of them are good because they all get you away from the kind of standard American diet of eating fast food and pizza, and beer. If you start to be concerned enough about your health to make some dietary changes that steer you in the direction of good whole foods,
you're
doing good.
Right.
I noticed that I switched from I always naturally enjoy a good I've had a good appetite for vegetables, good healthy stuff, and so I've made some changes in my own diet with my drinking habits. I went from drinking mostly soda to energy drinks to carbonated water now, which is my energy level is freaking through the roof. And then when I eat more healthy foods, I tend to feel better most of the time, and I don't feel drained. I feel full of energy, and so I can attest to that. It's just simple things we can all do, folks.
Yeah. What you've seen me drinking.
And you gotta nowadays don't do any seed oils. That's what's causing a lot of the problems. That's your canola, that's your soy oil, that's your vegetable oil, that's your peanut oil, that's your corn oil. Get rid of those and just use good old coconut oil, olive oil, avocado oil, and be done with it. Make your own dressings, make your own food, make everything from scratch, and avoid a lot of restaurant foods because a lot of that restaurant food has every kind of bad oil you can think of. You do that, you'll be fine.
Oh yeah. Oh man, I got a homemade salad that I make that doesn't need any dressing. But we take the tomatoes, slice them up real good. We put some salt and pepper and some seasoning salt on them, mix them up, and that's your dressing. It's so good. Oh man, you guys got it. One of these days you'll have to try one of my BLT salads.
Oh my God. Yeah, send me a recipe because I love that kind of stuff. But we make our own stuff here. I just will not go to too many fast food restaurants or anywhere anymore. I just like doing my own stuff.
I like to cook. It's kind of a hobby of mine. So I do a lot of that here at home too. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what I've been drinking is I've got some kombucha.
Oh yeah, my ex used to drink that.
Yeah,
I've got seltzer water, lemon lime seltzer water,
mm-hmm.
and then just regular water that is also filtered and then remineralized with a little bit of pink sea salt and some Dead Sea salt to add minerals back to it. Because once you purify your water, you don't have the same thing that nature designed, because nature designs water so that it has natural minerals occurring. So if you strip water of all of the toxins in it, then you also pretty much have to strip it of the minerals, because some of the toxins are going to be heavy metals and stuff. So once you have this very pure water, it's important to remineralize it.
Especially reverse osmosis, you have to put your own minerals back in it once you have
Well,
it.
yeah, because otherwise you're actually going to leach the minerals out of your own body.
Mhm.
So you want a certain amount of mineral content in your water. And,
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
you can get certain mineral springs that produce a naturally sparkling water or naturally minerally infused water that can be very healthy. I mean, there are places on earth that are known as healing springs where people go there to bathe in and drink the water because it has healing qualities.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, we had a good we're about, I think, an hour and 50 minutes in. About good show today, guys. Let's any last words? Want to wrap it up? Any last words, Angie? Anybody?
No, just take care of yourself and educate yourself. That's what you got to do nowadays.
Check out everything out the window, everything you've already learned, and relearn everything.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
Yeah, that's
my
perfect.
Everything
Oh,
you
everything
know
else.
is wrong.
Yes.
Right.
Everything you've learned is not true. Got to do it all over again. That's good. That's really good advice. I really do like that, Dottie.
And if Bill Gates or Anthony Fauci tells you something, you know that the opposite is true.
Right.
Google.
Whatever they tell you, believe the opposite.
Yeah.
You
Especially
can't go
Dr.
wrong
Google.
that way.
You go to Dr. Google,
And
make
remember,
sure.
all of the information you're getting from the vast majority of sources that it's available to you is curated to make you believe what you're supposed to believe.
That's why we should use other sources as well. Like they mentioned Brave. There's other search engines out there. I use a
Brave
combination.
and Firefox, that's what I use.
Yeah.
They're great. Free Spoke too. There's a Free Spoke, which is good. Is that what's called, I think?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if you listen to this this guy named Stephen Phillips that I found on the internet, he'll give you some really good information on his show. You should tune in from time to time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the vote of confidence, Robin.
And his friend Dottie is amazing also.
Right.
Thank you,
Well,
Stephen.
thank you. Yeah, anytime. Thank you everybody for joining us, and don't forget we do have a call-in line now, so we're going to be using that as often as we can as we do these shows. So we'd love to hear from you guys. Got some good stuff coming down the pipeline. I'm going to be doing some more coverage on the Hilligus case and be doing that article soon. So we will see everybody soon, and I look forward to doing our next show, you guys.
Great work. Thank you.
Take care. God bless us, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.